I just wanted as an anecdotal things that this kind of being a visiting guest professor in the university was mentioned was actually a pleasant thing for me because in 1981 I visited Beijing, the guest of the government, and at that time the place was called BIF, the Beijing Institute of Foreign Trade, and so coming back was quite interesting after quite a few years, just about a year and a half ago. And the only thing I've noticed, the swimming pool that existed then does not exist anymore. So I don't know, is China progressing or not? But anyway, the other comment I have to say that sometimes today it will seem that I recounted my message in my paper on the rule of law. And this is not quite true, but I would say that having Trump, my message at the time was the importance of the rule of law. And today I could just slash a lot of the words China and put US instead. And the message is still, the rule of law is very important. So in a second I'll tell you the agenda, what I'm going to talk about. And I may start by reading by the way, the two other things I want to comment about is, first of all, the topic I will be talking is China Technology Innovation Strategies with all the implications, okay? And clearly the implication involve adherence to the rule of law or not adhering to the rule of law. It also involved quite a bit, and I'll spend time on standardization, which is part of the strategies, which is a good example of China engaging within the rule of law, and actually eventually with patience it achieves quite a bit. So I'll spend some time because this, I think we are hearing more about fights rather than in stealing and whatever. But this is a very important strategy that China started more than a decade ago, and it continues, and at last there are successes. So I'll spend some time on it. But I want to start with and I'll read it, with the context right now. And the context kind of will influence how I did. So some of the question I will answer is, can China win the technology race? Will such a win be sustainable, and at what price? What is the impact on US, China? Sometimes I'll say Canada for some reason, I want to say China, but US and China relationship. These are kind of the questions, and it fits the title, but the title kind of, you have to make a title sometimes, and you want to leave it loose enough that you can then do whatever you want. And as it happens, it was not a bad title that I gave, but essentially my focus will be on China technology innovation. I'm sure this evening we'll hear a whole lot more about the politics, and I will not spend the little time I do have this. So I'll just start with identifying why I think it's very important problem, and eventually I'll come back, and I may skip on the way some of my already shorter lecture. It started at 36 slides this week. Yesterday I moved it to about 20 slides, and as I go I may probably skip more. I'll try to leave a quarter of an hour for question, discussion, protest, whatever it is that you want to pursue. Okay, so I'll start by reading just the paragraph. I'll slowly will move away from reading things to so. I believe that I got it right. So The Economist in a recent issue has described the current race between China and the US as a zero-sum game. This is technically it may not be correct, but that's how they described it. This characterization fits well with some of the recent exchanges between the two nations. It would indeed, if it would indeed turn to be a zero-sum game, there would be no winners. At best, the world could become more fragmented with two insulated dominant powers, pursuing in isolation costly technology innovation at much slower pace without the creative innovation that diversity inspires. At worst, it will be a process that leads to global economic ruin and stagnation. The innovation race between US and China can become, however, competitive process with a large degree of collaboration.